I want to talk very briefly about the idea of DNFing a book, just to make sure we're all on the same page. Sometimes people don't know the what's it called, acronym or whatever. DNF means do not finish, and a lot of times people look down on people for, or even themselves, for not finishing a book. But here's the thing: life is just too short. Even if your job is to just sit around reading books all day, every day, you still don't have enough time to read every single book in the whole world. We are mortal beings, and that's assuming that you won't encounter anything like a hospital stay or anything that would take up even more time. So yes, we have very limited time, and the idea that you're going to be able to finish everything is just silly. And I would give two main reasons why I personally DNF books. Now, I don't make a habit of this, but I feel like there are good reasons to. And the first really good reason I feel like there is it's just a bad book. Now, I know that everybody's going to be like, don't gatekeep. And here's the thing. Hold on. Gatekeeping isn't me telling you my opinion about a book. It's me not letting you have your own opinion about a book. Okay, so there is a huge difference between that. Gatekeeping says, you can't like this book because I don't, and if you do like it, you're trash. That's definitely not what's being said. But I can objectively, or I guess you could say subjectively, read a book and not like it, and that doesn't mean you can't like it. But I am giving my opinions of the book. Okay, so that's not gatekeeping. But with that being said, I know that taste is subjective, and that's totally true. Taste is totally subjective, but that doesn't mean that everything is subjective. Okay, just because your taste is subjective doesn't mean that there are not objective qualifiers for a book being bad. For instance, there are some books that are just poorly written, where even in the hands of like a competent editor, it would have been a fantastic book, but because of just the effort that was given to it, it came out as a bad book. And so a lot of times people predominantly will not like it. But once again, the majority of people not liking a book doesn't make it a bad book. But there are still objective qualifiers. For a lot of new movies have this little thing here: plot holes. If you've got a really good story, but it's got a massive, glaring pothole, it's like, well, plot hole, not pothole, plot hole. It's like, well, your whole story falls apart, and it's not as enjoyable. That's an objective reality. Okay. Now, with that being said, if you subjectively like an objectively bad book, that's fine. You can like trash if you want. Like that's totally fine. And that's okay. But that doesn't mean that there is no such thing as an objectively bad book. The second reason why I tend to DNF a book is because I'm just not into it at the time, or it's just I'm just not into it, generally speaking. Like, it can be the world's best book, but if I'm just not into it, then I'm not into it, right? And it doesn't, sometimes it's just a phase of life that I'm going to why I'm not into it, and sometimes it's just because the book itself doesn't speak to me. You know what I mean? I'll start a book and I'll be like, I can see why people like this. I'm just not into it, though. And especially when you go on like YouTube and stuff, there's a lot of people that talk about it and you're like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. But then you start and just, I'm not digging it. And once again, this doesn't mean it's a bad book. It just means you're not into it right now. And with this being said, others don't have to agree with your opinion. You can start Lord of the Rings and say, you know what, I don't really like this book. It's just, I don't like it. That's fine. Like, you don't have to agree with popular opinion. Others don't have to agree with your decision of what's a bad book and your decision of what's a good book. You can have your own subjective reality of what you enjoy. It's your time. Spend it reading the books that you want to read. It's very rare that I DNF a book, though. I really don't. It bugs me. It crawls under my skin. I hate it. But there's a lot of times where I'll pick up a book and I'll start reading it because it was recommended. And I'm flabbergasted because I just don't understand. Did we get the same book? Is this a different book or a different edition? Did they take something out? Because I don't understand why people even like it. As far as when to DNF a book, I follow a very simple rule of thumb, and I'm going to share it with you, knowing that there are going to be exceptions. My rule of thumb is read 20 to 30% of the book before you DNF it. So if you start a book, it's 1,000 pages, and you get 200 pages in and you're just not digging it, stop. If it's a 600-page book and you read 120 pages, 9 out of 10 times, okay, that'd be 20%. So in 9 out of 10 times, if I start a book and I'm not into it by 20 to 30%, nothing in the rest of the book is going to change my mind. I mean, there are a handful of times when that's not true, but predominantly you're going to get to this point and you're going to realize, yeah, I don't like this. Because if you go all the way through half of the book or even 3/4 of the book, this is what you're going to say. Well, I might as well finish. I gotten this far. And you don't want to be talking yourself into that kind of nonsense. Give it 20 to 30%, and then DNF it. Because if you give up in the first 1 to 5%, that's just not even giving it a fair chance. Sometimes there's just different writing styles, and it might take you a while to get into it. So, I mean, what about you guys? I want to hear from you guys. First off, do you always finish every single book that you start? Is that like a rule? Or do you feel bad about it? Do you not really care? Do other people make you feel bad, or are you your biggest instigator, or not instigator, but critic? Second question: when do you know when to stop reading a book? When do you get to that point you're just like, yep, this is where I draw the line? Is it content that you hit, or is it just the interest of the? I mean, there's a lot of times where content-wise, will be like, yeah, I can't go any further here. I'll have just something that's really not great, and I'm just like, this is against my personal, more moral of how far I'm willing to budge on this. And then the last question: do you ever give a book that you DNF'd a second chance and end up liking it the second go around? As for me, I know this happened with Dune. I had to read Dune 3 times before I finally got really into it, and then I was totally sold. So post your comments below, and I'd love to hear back from you.